One model, 2 film stocks, and a hot summer day. It's been super hot here in Austin. I mean, it's really, really hot. It's August. Hot summer heat in Austin, Texas. It's just so like over 100 degrees, many days in a row, into the night, just like really hot. But yeah, Danielle and I ventured out to the park anyway to do this quick shoot. Now I used Portra 160 and Portra 400 and my beautiful Veronica SQ. Settings were wide open on this 80mm lens at 2.8, and I used 1/500th of a second for most of my shots and 1/125th of a second for a few of the ones towards the end when we were working under the shade and the sun was just a little bit lower. Now we started out at about 6 p.m. And worked through about 7 o'clock, maybe into 7:15, but the sun was still pretty high in the sky here in Austin at that time. Like I said, it's August, and so it was still pretty hot and the sun was still pretty high, so you had some harsh light to work with, but if you found the right spots in the park, then you're okay. Now I told you about the settings. The problem is that I think I pretty much underexposed a lot of the shots. Now, I don't really think that you can tell, but I know that I did, okay? The thing is that with Portra, you're not really supposed to underexpose it. You're not gonna really get good looks on this film when you underexpose it. Now, a lot of people will tell you that. Just the other day, I was listening to the Analog Talk podcast, and one of the hosts, Chris, was saying that she likes to overexpose Portra by at least a couple of stops. And I've heard where people, they normally overexpose it by 1 stop, maybe 2 stops, and lots of times 3 stops. You're gonna get great looks with Portra, especially Portra 400, when you overexpose it like that. And you should check out that episode of the podcast that I was listening to. It featured an interview with Daniel Rodriguez, who's a really good music photographer. Of course, he shoots film. So I'll link to that, and I'm also gonna link you up to this page that I found, which actually shows you a comparison of different exposures, under, over, and box speed exposures of different films, including Portra 160 and Portra 400. It's a really good link, so go ahead and check that out in the description below. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of these shots. All right, now, as you know, I usually like to go ahead and show and tell about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in this case, the ugly was all me. Like I said, I was pretty sure that I'd underexposed my first roll of film. And this is the first roll. This is the Portra 160. And why did I do that? Why did I make that mistake? What was the human error all about? Well, I can tell you right now, it was something as simple as this. I was at home. I loaded up the camera with 160, and that was a few hours before I went out to the park to do this shoot, met up with Danielle, and then I was talking to her about the film camera, and I kind of got distracted, and I said, oh, hey, by the way, when we do this, we always have to meter in some way, because this particular camera, this Veronica, does not have an internal light meter. So I metered at ISO 400 instead of the 160 because I knew I was going to be shooting with the 400. I kind of got mixed up. That happens. Not a big deal to me because, as you can see, the pictures turned out all right. But yeah, that does happen occasionally. You make a mistake. And since I metered for 400, and I probably thought to myself at the time, as is what I would normally do, I'd bump that up a stop and overexpose it by 1 stop at least. When it comes down to it, I think what we shot here was pretty close to what the 160 box speed is. So, I'm not really too precise with the metering. I don't really worry too much about it, but let's just go ahead and take a look at the pictures now. Enough talking about that. Not making any excuses, just telling you we make mistakes and we roll with it, okay? We're not crybabies. All right, so there's more human error to come, and it's fun for everyone. Maybe not so much me, but it should make you feel better about yourself. All right, so here's the first shot, and I think it's a pretty good shot. We talked about what we wanted to do beforehand, and Just said, hey, we want to just do some stuff. I don't want it to look too modelly. I want it to look like friends got together and took some snapshots. Some of the shots are a little posy, but whatever. I think it turned out all right. All right, so this was the first shot. Pretty nice. If we zoom in, let's check that. Yeah, there's a little grain there. That maybe that has something to do with. This is 160. You shouldn't see too much grain, but maybe that has something to do with underexposing it a little bit. All right, it's not that much in focus either. And that's going to be the majority of my problems here. Is that a lot of the stuff was not quite in focus, which is that is an Ed Vorosky thing right there when working with Bronica. And I'm not really being too careful with focus. Okay, next shot. I think that was pretty nice. And what I was trying to do here was make sure that I had that sunlight coming through the trees to light up her hair. And I told her about that beforehand also. And so there's no reflectors being used, no artificial lighting. This is all just natural light the way that we found it. Next shot, I think that one's pretty nice. Let's take a look at this. What do we have in focus here? Probably this right here, or maybe over here. So a little back focusing there, but we're moving, so that's going to happen. Now look, like I said, everything was shot at f2.8 on this medium format camera. We have just like paper thin depth of field here, so I'm going to run into these problems. Again, kind of cool, out of focus right here. We're in focus somewhere back here. Still kind of a neat picture. And this one's pretty nice. Hey, Ed got it in focus. Isn't that awesome? Nice sunlight in the hair coming in from behind, and really this ambient light that's doing its job over here on the front side of our model is just coming from, you know, the open field. So it all looks good. One thing I'd like to note here is if you are using the 160, well, at least for me, I kind of notice a little bit of a greenish tone to the skin. Maybe with the 400, you've got more of a reddish. Not really sure about this. I got to do some research. This is just something that, you know, I kind of notice every now and then. We'll see how, you know, anyone else, you know, if you've got some opinions about this, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But this is probably something I want to watch out for if I'm shooting in an area with lots of green in it, where even these trees, you've got some green light bouncing up here and off of this, you know, maybe some grass and stuff like that. So if the skin tones are already a little greenish, then you probably want to watch out for that. Like I said, with the 400, I might have been a little happier with the skin tones. The thing about that is, and I want to just say this right here, once you've got this in your Lightroom or your Photoshop or whatever it is you're editing with, whatever it is you're looking at, I mean, you can just adjust that. You can just dial that green down just a little bit and problem solved, right? The thing is that I guess kind of philosophically, I just want the pictures and the colors to look a certain way right out of the camera, and I don't really want to mess with them in post. So that's just a thing. Yeah, it's all right. Wanted to try a long shot here. This one's pretty cool, and I liked the way that the hair and the wind was catching her hair. I think that one's a neat one. And that too, I like these quirky shots. I don't, you know, I really am tired of all the posy, modelly stuff that I've been doing for so many years. This is blurry, big time, still kind of neat. And so is this blurry. Look at how blurry this is. But it's cool. I like it. And then this was the last one off of that roll of 160. When my wife saw this, and I was like loading these up, I got these processed over at Holland Photo and Imaging. I believe that's what they're called. Anyway, they're called Holland, and they will process your film. They're located here in Austin, so I can just run down there and do this. But I think most people just send their film in, and you can get scans like I got here, or you can get prints or scans and prints. Anyway, so I was running through these. My wife saw this one, and she says, "That's an Ed photo right there. That just looks like your style." And I was like, "Yeah, it kind of does." Anyway, so it's a neat look right here. That f2.8 I don't know, just hit it at the right spot to where certain things were in focus and other things were not. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the Portra 400. First shot, this is like a soccer goal setup here, and just decided to go ahead and play with that a little bit. Out of focus, big time, but hey, look, human, it looks cool. We're having fun. And then we said, let's get a little more serious. Now that's in focus. Look at that right there. All right, I don't know, what's the mood of this? It's a serious, intense mood. I asked her to project with her eyes, and you know, veer away from the playfulness of like this one back here. And so this is kind of cool. We need to do some retouching and stuff like that, but that's par for the course. Here we're just playing around, literally just playing around. I don't even know why I'm clicking the shutter. I just am having fun, and we're just doing stuff and playing with different looks. This is one of those poses I see done a lot. I don't really like it. I don't know why I'm even taking a picture here. Look, sometimes that, you know, you're doing a shoot and you've got that shutter finger just clicking on its own sometimes. And yeah, I've only got 12 shots per roll here, and I only wanted to shoot 2 rolls. So I guess I'm kind of wasting some of these shots on things I would not normally shoot. I think this is kind of neat, and this is okay. Again, wow, it kind of hit the focus, but moved the camera a little bit. This is kind of cool, but this maybe is a little bit better. We have the sun really hitting her here now. That's a hot spot, but I think it's almost blown out. I don't know if I really like that too much. This might be something that I would just tone down a little bit. Like I said, I don't like to mess around with my film stuff in post, but I might sometimes if necessary. That's a little more like my speed right here. That's what I would do. Now, just to let you know, once we got to about right here, maybe even here, I'm already, we're in the Portra 400, and I have dialed that shutter speed down a little slower to 1/125th of a second. I'd been shooting out here still at 1/500th of a second, but somewhere along the line here, I opened it up a little bit more, and that's fine. Like I said, that's not really how it was. This is really what we got here. But you know, hey, even in the dark room, we might mess around with a shot like that. Anyway, so this was the last shot, and then we did some video, and we did some more digital shots. I didn't mention this before, but lots of times what I'll do during a shoot like this, even when I'm shooting almost exclusively film, I will shoot digital also, and that's what I did here, and we did some digital shots here too. The digital pictures turned out really well. I posted one of those up on Instagram just the other day. You know, and the thing is, I like those digital shots, but they just have a different feel. And, you know, if you're not careful, you shoot with a certain camera, shoot with a certain lens, your pictures are going to look like everybody else's pictures. And I almost feel like that other, let me just post it up here. Okay, here we are. This is a digital one, and you know, yeah, it's a beautiful picture. I would say if somebody, you know, if I saw this and somebody else had posted this up and it wasn't my picture, I'd say, yeah, it's a really beautiful picture. It's you know, it's just part of me feels like it's beautiful in that way that lots and lots of other pictures are. Just this kind of stuff that we're shooting these days is just like this, and I don't like things to be so typical. And this, while you know, this says nothing about the model, this is all on me, it's just, you know, normal. It's just what you'd see out there. And I don't know, I think my favorite thing about this is the feel of what Danielle is doing here. It's just a really good look, a really good spontaneous pose. That's why I like it. I think technically it's a good picture. It's just kind of, yeah, you know, normal. And so I like stuff that's a little weirder, a little quirkier. A little more filmy. Yeah. So there you go, Portra 160, Portra 400, my Bronica SQ, and a lot of human error. All right, but look, you know, when things don't go right, you know, at least try to get some good shots out of it. Just be creative, be human. Try to get some shots with emotion in them. And so, you know, even if you're technically not on point with your pictures, something goes wrong, even if they're a little blurry or they come out a little grainy or a little underexposed. Look, as long as you captured something special with your shots, then you're gonna have some pretty good pictures. You'll at least have pictures that you should be happy with. All right, so give me your thoughts on these images. We can discuss this shoot in the comments below. Hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, click that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time.